Hey YouTube, welcome to the final video in the series Traditional Grip and Finger Control. Okay, so in the previous we talked about using a combination of the thumb and index finger. Before that we used the index finger, and then in the very first video we talked about using the thumb. Okay, so in this final series we're going to talk about using your index finger and your middle finger. Okay? All right, now your ability to really make use of this technique, I think, really largely depends, again, on the length of your fingers. The longer your fingers are, specifically your index and middle finger, the easier and more useful this technique is going to be for you, at least in a way. And I'll explain that here in a second. Okay? So the best way to get this started, okay, is we're actually going to turn our hand over, okay? And what you're trying to do, again, you want the stick to just rest, okay, in that wedging, okay, in that webbing between your thumb and your first finger, okay, and it's going to sit there freely, okay, and just double check. You should be able to dribble it with the other hand, okay. You don't want to be squeezing it, with your thumb like that. You just want it to sit there nice and loose and free, okay, and it should be able to bounce nice and easy, okay. The other thing is you want to make sure that the angle of your stick to the drum is relatively parallel, okay, meaning you don't want to be like this, okay, where the stick is coming down at an angle. You just want to make sure that the stick is relatively, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just relatively parallel to the playing surface. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take these two fingers, okay, and you're going to dribble the stick like this, okay. So here, we got the hand turned over, okay, and we're tapping the stick with the index finger and middle finger at the same time, just like this, okay. And again, the tricky part is just going to be to get your fingers to be moving in sync with the bounce of the stick. Again, this is all the same as dribbling, like dribbling a basketball. Your hand has to move in sync with the rebound of the ball. I don't know if you've ever tried to bounce a basketball really low to the ground. It's exactly just like that. Your hand has to move quicker, and if you get out of sync, you'll stop dribbling. That's the same thing with the stick. Okay, so you're just pushing down like this. Okay, now I got my index finger basically laying over top of the stick like this, okay, and then my my middle finger, basically the tip of my middle finger is pushing down. Of course, you can experiment with the placement of your fingers and find a position that works for you, but just you're just trying to get both of them to come in contact with the stick, and again, just push down on it. Okay, so that's basically it. All right. Now, this method of turning your hand over is used by a lot of guys, such as Dave Weckel, for one. Joe Morello did a little bit of this as well. All right, and once you get it going, it's really quite easy, and you're going to find using your middle finger to really help, because I find my middle finger to feel much stronger overall than my index. Okay? Now, there is a disadvantage to this technique, okay? And the disadvantage of that is getting into position. You're going to find the normal playing position is here. All right? It can be a little bit of a pain switching from here to turning over. I mean, it's not terrible, it's not awful, but it is something to consider when you're needing to use your fingers with your wrists, with your arms, quickly alternating between all these various levers. It can be hard and weird to constantly be doing this. Now, you may not have a problem with it, okay, but it's just something that I have noticed myself in using it, and I've heard from others as well. But again, you might love it and not have any problems with it at all. Steve Smith, he's another guy that does this does this a lot, this method. Okay, so that's really all there is to it. Okay, so the other way that you can do this, now this is the version that I think is largely dependent upon how long your fingers are, as far as how easy it can be. And that's to take this position and go back into the regular grip position, but still use your index finger and middle finger. Okay, but instead of pushing down like this, you're now going like that. Okay, and you're doing an angle similar to the to what we did with the just the index finger. Okay, so now, all right, you're pulling down with both fingers like this. Now I use this sometimes, but again, I find the other methods overall to be better suited for me. Okay, but this is still a great way of playing. So I encourage you to try it out, because you might find that you actually like this a lot better. Okay? Now you notice, in this position, I'm having to turn my hand over some still anyway. I'm not turning it all the way over like this, but I am having to turn my hand over a little bit just to get my fingers over top of the stick. Okay? Okay? Now again, your positioning here, a couple of things you can try. You can, of course, try to keep your fingers sort of curved like this. Okay, and do kind of that motion. All right, where basically this part of your fingers right here is what is pulling or touching the stick when you pull down on it right here. Okay, or you can try to kind of, Dave Wuckel does a lot of this, where you sort of extend these fingers over top while still keeping your wrists. So your fingers and hands sort of form this kind of a right angle. I don't know if you can see that, and you go kind of like that. Okay. All right. I mean, it definitely works, but it for me it feels a little bit uncomfortable. So, but it definitely works. Okay, so there you go. Again, that's probably the weakest one for me. I'm still working on it myself. Again, I just find that the motion for my fingers to be really just uncomfortable in general. And again, I think it's just due to my finger and hand size. You know, because it's harder to get those fingers over top of the stick. Now this, I find to be very easy. Okay, this is very easy. All right, but this method I'm still working on myself. All right, but anyway, so those are the four different ways that you can utilize the fingers in traditional grip. So what I encourage you to do is to experiment with all these various methods. Okay, the thumb, which again I find to be the easiest overall for first getting into finger control. The index finger, okay, followed by the combination of mommy daddy, okay, followed by this. All right, but try them all out. Okay, that is the beauty of traditional grip is all the options. Okay, that is the beauty. All right, but at the same time, it can make traditional grip sort of intimidating and daunting because of all the options. Okay, but try them out, experiment. I ultimately use basically all of them to a certain extent. So again, experiment, try them out, see what works, and I think you'll find something you can use within at least one of these techniques. Okay, so I appreciate it, YouTube, and we'll see you guys soon. All right, take care.